How about now? I wonder if it's a track issue. Can you guys hear my mic now? Okay, so it's a track issue. So bear with me. I am not a streamer. I usually make edited videos after the fact, gather my footage and all that nonsense. So, that being said, do what I can. Doing a little testing here and there, trying to get the streaming working. So I'm broadcasting on YouTube and Twitch. I'm able to see chat from both, but I'm not able to chat to both. Still working on that. But if you guys can hear me, I don't need to be able to respond in chat. I can just respond to the chat. And that'll work. Okay, so the music is much louder. Alright, so let's try this. How about that? Is that better? So this will be the video will get published after the fact on YouTube. It's kind of funny to be, I guess I'll be real with people. YouTube is challenging, but this video has a whole lot of nothing burger in it. It's just mostly looking at the menu screens as I try to figure out settings for the test stream that I've never done before. So we'll see what kind of comments we get on the video that posts after. So is that a better volume mix? Are we good there? Is that a good level, or should I turn the music down a little more? Alright, that's good. Yeah, I actually don't think I have any viewers in Twitch, so we'll see how that goes. It's just coming back from Flight Sim Expo, I did meet some people, and a lot of people do streaming on Twitch. Not as many people do the live stream on YouTube, so it's kind of fun to be able to try to broadcast both. We'll see if my computer can handle it. I've got a decent computer, so I can run VR, and it handles it pretty well. But trying to broadcast and see what kind of bitrate I can get on my internet all at the same time. We'll see how it goes this weekend. But I think I'll once I get everything working, after I get done with this test, I'll throw some times on the schedule so that everyone will know when I plan to actually sit down and fly. And I'm not really going to do a full feature showcase of the 500, just kind of a little preview. Maybe we'll look at the OH-6 as well. They're completely different helicopters, so it's a pretty interesting, awesome Northland. That'd be pretty cool. Thank you. It'd be pretty cool to share it with you. You know, working with these guys. So I'm not paid by them. I'm just a private helicopter pilot that loves to sim. I've been doing both for as long as I can remember. I love aviation, so since I was a little kid, I've been trying to get into it. So I've never flown a real 500. I am not one of the pilots that gave the feedback for the development of the flight model in that regard. So I mean, I've done some of the feedback on what I know of helicopter flight, obviously being a real pilot, but I am not I guess I'm not the pilot that they consulted for the 500 handling. They've got other real 500 pilots that they've consulted to be able to tune this. But from what I know of this aircraft, and from friends that have flown it, that I've spoken to and discussed with what I know of other helicopters and the types that I've flown, it's pretty spot on, and it's pretty spot on from what I expect of the type. And so all this comes together, right? I'm not doing this because I'm a streamer. I've been working for the last several years progressively on trying to get my setup to be closer to the real thing so that I can use it as a tool when I can't fly for real. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, just to kind of give a little background. But I fly mainly Robinsons, two-bladed teetering rotors. It's a little bit different, but I do have some time in A-Stars, AS 350 B3s, or H125s as everybody knows them now, and some 206 time R66 44 22. But that's kind of the limit of my airframe experience. Oh, you know what? Let's do that. Let's get it in there. There's no harm in firing it up, right? We like that. All right. Where should we fly? Of all the places, right? You always end up going to the same places, right? I have a go-to here in Santa Barbara just because it's got some good features at the airport for testing helicopters, and the performance is good, and the photogrammetry and the scenery is always pretty good. So why the heck not? Yeah. Alright, so here's going to be the fun test. Can I set a hotkey to mute my mic? Yeah, that's something I can work out later because I'm just really not that worried about it. Okay. Santa Barbara. Great little spot. All right, let me slide my controls to a usable place. Pardon my sounds. All right. Test setup. Not really. All right, so like I was talking about earlier, with my setup, with everything running, all the goodies. You guys can't see every single one of my screens, and it's beautiful. It's like you could really see all the different applications that I have open right now to get all this going. So streaming is one thing, but then running force feedback controls in VR is another. So there's lots of applications going. But what's pretty cool with OBS is that you can just stream by application. So it's not dragging all the resources, which is pretty fun to kind of learn about. I ain't no fortunate son either. We'll take it. But yes, helicopters. Oh, so why did I get into helicopters? I get into helicopters because helicopters are the coolest thing ever. That is why. I just find the engineering fascinating. And the physics involved is just really cool. So it's not quite. I've been messing around with my OBS settings, so I have two different views, and right now this one I'm just tinkering, but I fly in VR, so we'll kind of have to see. I'll do a little test on how that's going to go, because I have to crop it. There's just really no good way with Microsoft Flight Simulator to broadcast VR. So I've decided I'm not really going to worry about a camera on myself like most streamers do, because to really do this, who wants to look at me with my VR headset on anyways? We all get the idea. So we'll go from there. Starting to sound like Drew. Good times. Oh yeah, I've done autos in it. It autos really nicely. One of the better autoing helicopters in Microsoft. So yeah. It's not even program dependent, it's add-on dependent. I fly all the major sims. I fly, haven't flown Aerofly in a while, but I fly DCS, X-Plane 12, and Microsoft Flight Sim now 2024 pretty regularly. And those three are in my rotation, and it's not the program, it's the add-on um, that matters as far as realism and doing those kind of things. So yeah, this version right here, the team that's worked on it has really spent some time and worked really deep into the tools that are available to really get this helicopter the best that it can be with the native flight model and tools that are available in Microsoft. So, and the whole argument about flight models between the different developers and the different platforms, it's starting to become moot. There's still little things that each one does better on the edge of the flight envelope, but none of them are perfect. And everybody likes to talk about VRS and the simulation of VRS, and I've yet to come across a sim that does it correctly. So it's really more about flying to avoid it than it is about trying to learn how to recover from it, which is the way you approach it in real life anyways. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess, for your sim experience and how you approach the VRS simulation or RBS or retreating blade saw simulations and those things at the edges of the helicopter flight envelope. But the calculations are so intense that all of those kind of fringe edge of the envelope behaviors are going to be best approximations anyways. Anyways, I was in the middle of switching my profiles. So with the R66, I basically have two profiles set. You can see for helicopters, I have three. I guess you can't see. We just talked about that. I have three profiles set for a Moza AB9 force feedback joystick. I've got a Bell 205, 206 for like the Huey and two-bladed rotors, and then I've got an R66, and then I've got the 500C profile, and I'm just loading that right now for my AB9, and this helicopter flies beautifully with the AB9 and the trim system. It's the way it's supposed to be in simulation. So like I said about realism, I'm using a Vario Aero that's I'm really happy with. Kind of ticked that they got out of the market, but I've been really happy with it so far. I'm not sure what I'm going to replace it with. I got my dad into the hobby, and he's using a Pimax Crystal Light, and those are both of our replacements for the Reverb G2, but I see that somebody might save the G2, but either way I'm happy with the upgrade. The resolution in both the headsets is great, so I mean there's not a ton of difference. I would say that the blacks and the Crystal Light might be a little bit better for contrast, but my Vario Aero that's a little bit older is pretty comparable to the Crystal Light that my dad uses, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Just stay away from VRS. Just stay out of that envelope, and you're good. Don't worry about it, because like recovery is not. If you put yourself into a situation where you're having to recover from VRS, you've done something wrong. So like, try not to be there. Everything's about being ahead of the aircraft. Yeah, I do plan to do a video about my AB9. Like I said, I've had it not quite a year. It's been a good product, but I've had some issues with it. Right now, I think there's something in one of the axes that might be a little loose. So I'm going to send it back to the manufacturer and see how that experience goes. So far, it's been great working with them, and it's been a pretty good product. But yeah, I've got some profiles up on Moza's Discord. So I think my R66 and my MD500 profile are up on Discord, but I think I might put this one up after this releases next week. But yeah, yeehaw. Anyways, the birds is chirping. Yeah, it's the team did a beautiful job on this thing. I mean, we might hiccup a little bit. We'll see as I. Okay, yeah. They really did. It's just it's yeah, flight sims have come such a long way from when I started. I mean, I got to go to Flight Sim Expo recently, and that was a really cool experience. But there's guys that have been doing this since the Sublogic days, the original flight simulator. I'm not quite that experienced, but I started doing it when I couldn't afford doing the real thing. I got into aviation and I started working line support um, when I was 17. So I mean, I got into aviation before that, but I started working line support and really spending time around airplanes when I was 17 and in high school, and got a chance to go for a ride in the sheriff's helicopter and switch gears. But sometimes life takes its own paths, and I couldn't afford things when I was younger, and I didn't get back to my license until after I was an adult. So that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I got back to it, was able to finish it, and I'm still going. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, like learning to do line support and just being around the aircraft, it's kind of cool. Like, I don't know, playing FS-98, I think was one of my first simulators, and IL-2 Sturmovik, and Combat Flight Simulator 3, I think. I don't know. I don't know about Steam VR. It hasn't been the best performance, so I like OpenXR. It's performing great for me with DCS X-Plane and Microsoft, so that's what's been a challenge, right? So now I've had to find different applications to do different stuff, but like I'm using FS Kneeboard, and we'll see that here in the cockpit, to be able to see the chat. So that was kind of like my experimental stuff I've been working on, and why this chat's out there right now. So it wasn't really my plan to do any flying right now, but trying to just get things going. But not FS Kneeboard, there's Open Kneeboard as well, but FS Desktop, and then I've got an all-in-one tablet that I'm going to check out. But that's just to be able to see things like the chat here in the sim. So I can have this window open, and let me check my broadcast and see. Yeah, so you're seeing it in the broadcast. But yeah, it's so I can see by both chat from Twitch and YouTube, so that way I can talk about it, right? So I'm still struggling to get that to connect. It's not, when I have it set to all, for some reason it's not typing to YouTube. It's just sending it to Twitch. So at least like when I'm typing chat, but I mean, who cares? In the video it's broadcasting. You guys are getting my mic, so I can see the chat, and I'll be able to see the chat in VR when I'm flying, and I'll be able to answer questions at least and talk in real time. So pretty cool experience learning how to do all of these fun little things, and hope that my computer doesn't melt. Yeah, helicopters, man. So yeah, exactly. Like I said, as a line guy, I worked line support, and that's how I got into it. And we kept the sheriff's helicopters at the hangar I worked at, and if they weren't on a specific call, then I would, or any of us line guys, we could go for a ride with them, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, I got to go for a ride with our local sheriff, and I was hooked. I haven't looked back since. So I mean, I do still love airplanes. I have a few particular ones that I'm fond of, especially ones I have real life experience in. I've flown 150s, 152s, 172s. I've got a little bit of time in SF-260s from Air Combat USA. Same thing, working as a line guy. They used to travel around the country, and if they sometimes had somebody cancel, or they didn't have somebody for the paying customers to go against, they would grab a line guy, just because they didn't want the paying customers to fight, because all the guys that did that were ex-fighter pilots. So it's not fair. The point is, for people that are inexperienced in aviation, to go up there and do mock aerial combat. But that was probably the coolest thing I've ever done in an airplane. Mock aerial combat in Marchetti SF-260s. Just a beautiful beast of a tiny little airplane. Just totally cool. But yeah, and I've gotten to fly in A-Stars, Bell 206s, MD-500Es, just being around the airport. Sometimes you'd go for a test flight with the maintenance guys. So I've been in, Lear 31s and 45s, and Gulfstream 3s and 4s, and Challengers, and It's pretty cool getting that kind of experience. And like the airport I worked at was close to a music venue, so a lot of famous people would come fly in to do concerts and go to concerts. And Ryder Cup was cool, meeting famous people at the airport. So yeah, it's aviation. It's interesting. Yeah, the Marquetti is cool. It's a cool airplane. So, anyways, you can kind of see I've got all my physical controls set up here. I had to do a little bit of tinkering to match the curve. You can see that right there. Um, we love details. So that's the fuel cutoff ring right there, and I've got that mapped to my controls. So I don't have to do anything with the mouse. I get the right amount of travel and the ring clicks down, and then I've got full throttle travel, and I've got that set to a button. I've got a Pro Flight Trainer collective that's got an idle release on it, and all that works together. And I've got the engine beep trim, which you can see right there, and the not the searchlight, but the landing light configured to my controls, and the starter button. So all that physically set up and good to go. Yeah, the doors are removable. It's got options. So, and the options are different depending on whether you're flying the H500C or whether you're flying the OH6. So right now we're looking at the H500C. The console is different too. So, and operation is a little bit different. So you have to be mindful of the checklists. And there's the possibility to turn on and off the damage. So you can hot start it. And Microsoft and how they deal with damage isn't fully fleshed out, but at least it's a simulation. So it'll keep flying, but you'll know that you've hot started it and that you blew up your engine, basically. So just like, even if your rotor RPM in Microsoft gets below the green arc, it'll keep flying. But yeah, that's the way it is. So yeah, I got all my controls configured. Cool little features, like this one's a great one. That's actually the gust lock and how they do it in the real aircraft, right, for the tail rotor. So yeah, pretty cool. And like the battery panel in the OH6, the battery panels under here, you can open it and you can see all those connections. And yeah, they did a spectacular job with this thing. It's the detail everywhere you look. The detail is great. So yeah. But yeah, as you can see, this might be a little bit difficult for me, right? Because I can't hear. Because I've got my headset, my VR headset, set to the volume. So if I put it on my other speakers where I could hear it, then you guys would be hearing that come through too, and I don't want that. So I said my controls are a combination of Pro Flight Trainer and Moza AB9. So my tail rotor controls are Moza, or sorry, not Moza, but Pro Flight Trainer pedals. They're the push-pull generation, the first push-pull generation. So I actually bought my Pro Flight Trainer set in 2015. So I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, they're so expensive, but like really dollar for use, for hours of simulation, they're pretty cheap. And you're able to configure them, which is what's beautiful about actually why they call themselves the Pro Flight Trainer for helicopters, because you can configure it in almost any position to match any real world helicopter, so that you can get your hands in and feet in the right location when you're sitting at your simulator to match the aircraft that you're training in, which is instrumental in building muscle memory for helicopters. So anyways, yeah, Pro Flight Trainer, saw those guys at the expo. They've got great stuff. If you're serious about helicopters, and serious about using a sim to supplement your real world training, Pro Flight Trainer is the way to go. Yeah, I've been flying this a ton, so I don't have to worry about any conflicts with controls. I'm good, So right now I've got everything set up. I'm good. So like that little bit of jiggle that you might see in the cyclic is actually because if I'm actually bumping it, I've got my Moza AV9 configured like a real one, so it doesn't have a centering spring. Anywho, what do we care about? Well, we gotta turn the battery on. Fuel valve is closed. We gotta turn the key on. If we're nice and we want to let people know what's happening, we can see right here. Let's zoom in. We care about our anti-collision lights. Oops, sorry, that's not it. This one's the anti-collision lights and our position lights, right? So that lets everybody know that we're about to fire up. I have the PMS 50 free version installed. You can see we're lit up, we're ready to go. So right now our fuel is at cutoff, and we are going to pay attention to our N1, our percent RPM, right? So we don't want to introduce fuel below 15% because that'll give us a hot start, and we want to pay attention to our torque and our turbine outlet temperature gauge here. And our oil pressure as we're starting up to make sure we don't hot start and blow up the gearbox, basically. So in real life, you'd use two hands so that you're ready to be able to cut the fuel if you need to, but we'll just do it one hand here. All right, so here we go. All right, we're at 12%. There's 15%. Introduce fuel. You keep holding down the starter just like you do in real life, and you can configure that to different controls depending on what you have in real life. Like I can look down right now, and you can see the stick wobbling, and my AV9 is wobbling to match that. And then once you get to 58% N1, you can release the starter button, and the turbine should be self-sustaining. And right there, with the fuel against the cutoff for idle, it should settle in just about 65-ish to 67% RPM for a good start. And we'll let it settle, and then we'll turn the generator on and then spool it up. Yeah, they really did a great job with the turbine sound, like especially when you introduce fuel and you get that like boof sound. I don't really know what the best way to describe that. Like if you've ever really worked around real turbines, they did that really well. So right now I just left it at idle, and you can see everything's stabilized and it's ready to spool up. Correct gauges and the throttle and everything at the same time. So let's get this out of the way. Just check that I'm broadcasting. Still okay? Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So yeah, this is just rolling it up. You want to keep your PSI below 30 as you roll it up. It'll kind of spike a little bit on you, so you don't go too fast. But once it gets up to about there, then you just kind of roll the throttle the rest of the way up, and you can see that on the main RPM gauge, it's at just under 199, 98 to 99, which is typical at 100% throttle, and then you use the RPM beep trim to trim that into the green arc at 104. That's what you want on your NR. So your N1 NR should match at 104% for normal operation. Anyways, that's all in the handbook. You guys can kind of explore that once you oops, I forgot to turn the generator on. Once you get your hands on this. So anyways, good startup. Yeah, she's ready to go fly. So this has been, for me, let me just see where we are. It's been an hour, so just kind of tinkering around with things. We've only kind of messed around with it. So the next time I do a stream, we won't stay in the menus for an hour and take forever to start it up. We'll start it up and we'll go flying. Alright, so if it's not running, now I'm getting overpowered, you say. So let's try it here. How about that? Is that better? Alright, so I think those are the good levels. Alright, this has been a great stream. Thank you, everyone that jumped on here to join me in checking this out. And I'm for sure going to do at least one more stream this weekend. Pretty quiet over in Twitch. I wonder if it's different. I'll check the settings in OBS to see how it's outputting and make sure that the sound is outputting the same way. But I can mess around with that when I'm streaming. At least I figure that I can tinker with those settings in real time, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, just so you guys know, I've been kind of bumping my controls a little bit, so that's why if the helicopter's moving around, you know, I've got my controls kind of off to the side. I'm not in my flying position, so I'll get that set up and we'll be ready. So I'll throw something on the schedule for both Twitch and YouTube. One for sure. I'll try to do two this weekend, but we'll see. But I'll throw them on the schedule so everybody knows when I'm up. I think the cruise speed is 130 knots in the H500. I think the VNE is 135, so she's actually pretty quick for a helicopter. So, I mean, what I find in real life flying, anyways, it's like the listed speeds for what you're doing and the conditions that you're flying in. Yeah, you know, typically you're going a little bit slower than the listed best case scenario speeds. The air isn't always smooth, and that has an effect on things. So in the sim, I typically fly this around 115, 120 knots cruise, and it's comfortable there with a good load and not pulling too much torque. But you know, it performs pretty well at altitude as well. So obviously the later variants of the 500 series, they perform even better than that, but it's a pretty good little machine. It's a lot of fun to fly. So everyone will be really happy with what Taog's Hangar has been able to produce here, and it's been worth the wait. So they were able to keep this under wraps for a long time, but yeah, I've been testing it for a little bit, and it's been a great little helicopter. So it's been hard to kind of keep my mouth shut and be quiet about how awesome this thing is, but it's great. So now there's an official date, so it's coming July 10th. That's great. So the ingestion process for the marketplace has begun, and yeah, it's something to look forward to. It's a great little helicopter. So thanks everyone for joining today, and take care. We'll see you in the next stream.